This is another episode of Dangerous Ideas. My name is Shawn Kanungo. I'm an innovation strategist. What we do is we break down concepts and frameworks that will change your life. Oh, wow. Hey everyone, another episode of Dangerous Ideas. This is a special episode. We are here at the Maya Horowitz Theater in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. This used to be like my home for 2-3 years with Mo and Mazen and Neve. We shot so many virtual keynotes here. We actually were here this morning to do a virtual keynote, but we have a special guest in the building. Adam O'Brien, back on the Dangerous Ideas pod. Man, how you doing?
Dude, I'm great, man. It's
what do you think of this place? It
looks
beautiful.
So good, man. I love the small details of texture and lighting that we've figured out as a species now. Like, as a design culture is so strong. It's unique. It looks fresh. You walk in here, it looks amazing. So yeah, man.
I'm so happy to have you here. We got a couple juicy topics, and just to switch it up, actually, because this is a special episode. We actually have Neve. She's gonna be like moderating this conversation. She's gonna be throwing us some topics, some that I know of, some that I have no idea of. Neve, you want to say hello to the camera?
Hey, how's it going?
Neve, I just threw you to do this, by the way. Are you comfortable doing this? This is this outside of your comfort zone, or is this in your comfort zone?
I'd say it's like right on the edge.
Oh, okay.
I think we got to get her a talent contract, man.
I think so. Okay, so Neve, give us like a first topic. What do you got cooking there?
Yeah, there's a viral post that went out on Reddit and then on X. It's sparking debate about generational wealth and financial support. So Adam Singer shared a story of a guy on Reddit who posted that his parents are reportedly worth $20 million, but seem unwilling to financially assist their hardworking children. So basically the debate is about the children and facing high debt and economic struggles despite stable careers. They're expressing frustration over their parents' detached approach and not willing to help them out.
Yeah, I saw this thing trending on Twitter. Basically, there was this guy, Adam Singer, he put this thing on Reddit. Essentially, this guy is struggling with his family, like take care of his kids, like they're in daycare and this and that. And he goes to his father, and he has like $10 million, and his father-in-law has like more than $10 million. And here these guys are just struggling, and this sparked an entire debate. People are on either side of this, and I know I sent this to you as well. What do you think of this? What's your take on it?
Yeah, dude. When I first saw it, I kind of had some mixed reactions because there is I've got 4 kids. There's that emotional tug that I want my kids to succeed and be successful. And then it was on the other side, I was like, oh man, this guy is entitled. Like, I bet you he's just some LARP that, wants everything handed to him on a silver spoon. And I think it comes down to ultimately the core value of the parent and what success, like what I just said. I want my kids to be successful. What does successful mean? Does it mean that they get to live within their means and end up with a good hard character, or does it mean that they get everything handed to them on a silver spoon, or kind of somewhere in the middle? I personally would probably fall into the camp of not wanting to help my kids too much, because we know that wrecks them.
So you're gonna be the guy sitting with a $10 million Bitcoin home, and then your kids are struggling.
But here's the thing: the fact that he didn't know means that his parents probably aren't driving Lamborghinis and living in a mansion. He, in the post anyways, he was shocked. He was shook. He was like, "You got $10 million in the bank? What are you doing?" And you don't just, unless you're dumb. That shouldn't shock you.
Right.
Which means his parents live frugally, which means probably within their means, which also means they're planning for retirement. And that money's going to him anyways, probably, unless there's a whole other topic of whether or not he's estranged or whatever. But
I think the question is, because obviously between us we have 7 kids, and
a lot of kids.
How much should we be giving our kids so that it's enough? Because let's be honest, it is way harder for our kids to live in this world where to afford a house, or to afford anything. Everything is getting way more expensive, and the incomes have not caught up. I remember when my first job, I was making $5.75 or $5.95 an hour. $5 an hour. I feel like an old man saying that. But that's how much I made an hour. But at the time, I feel like I was able to buy stuff with that. And today, you can't buy anything with $5 an hour.
No.
Obviously, the standard, the minimum wage has gone up, but it's so hard to buy a house today. And I just think about my kids, and I'm like, how much should I actually give them? Warren Buffett has this quote. I'm misconstruing it, but it's this idea: I want to give my kids enough, but not enough.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, they have to be hungry still. I think that money is always the consequence of an earlier decision. And so I think that we probably want to give our kids the ability to make the earlier decisions. In our house, we don't do allowance, but all the kids have chores. Trying to instill this concept that when you live, being part of this earth and part of our house and part of society, part of a group in general, means you have to work. You have to sacrifice.
Yeah.
Not because you're getting paid, not because, and that's trying to erode this entitlement of, oh, I did my job, now make sure you give me my money. It's how about we just do jobs, we do the efforts, and we put the work in to have a nice group, society, home, or whatever it may be. And so I think that we're probably better off to give our children the freedom and the creativity to think, and then support them in the decision-making process. But straight up, if this guy doesn't have debt, if this guy doesn't, maybe his parents don't trust him. Maybe he's not a contributing, individual to society. And maybe that extra $1 million that gets him out of debt and gets him a house, maybe it ends up his nose through cocaine, or maybe it wrecks him. Money has never been societally, has never been the solution to problems. The solution to problems is always, a little bit of luck, effort, and being able to think, like a first principles approach. And so, yeah, I would probably fall in the camp of, hey, I've got enough wealth to make your life incredibly comfortable, but I don't want to do that because that will wreck.
So let me be more tactical. Will you help your 4 kids with their first home, and give them that seed money for a down payment for their first home?
Oh man, homes are interesting.
And by the way, when you get to the fact their first condo, their first townhouse or whatever they get, their first apartment, that's going to be starting $1 million, by the way.
Oh, probably more. In 15 years, when my first son is kind of age to start even thinking about moving out, the money in Canada will be so deteriorated. $1 million will not buy you a car. It's going to get. We're seeing inflation start to compound. It's going to get gruesome here. Will I help my kid buy their first home? Probably not. I would rather help them with their first business, with their first job, with their first career.
Let's go. I like that.
Before I bought anything, the first thing that I ever bought as an 18-year-old was vending machines. And I went to my dad. I got pre-approved for a $15,000 loan at the bank. And I went to my dad and said, hey, I got this $15,000 line of credit that I got approved for. If you give me another 15, if I borrow another 15 from you, then I can go out and buy these vending machines, and here's the opportunity and here's the plan. And he was like, bet, let's go.
Let's go.
And did it. And it was great. And I hope to do that with my kids one day. And I hope to raise them in an environment that gives them the thought process to be able to think that way and continue to do that. Home ownership.
You're speaking like an entrepreneur, purebred hustler. Helping your kids with their first business, I think is an incredible use case.
And we've as a society, we've glorified home ownership, but I'm actually quite bearish on home ownership for young people. I don't think it's going to. We all look at a home as if it's some saving grace, long-term investment. But frankly, it's an asset that costs us money to own.
Yep.
The government can tax at whatever rate it wants. I mean, here in Edmonton, it's going up property tax is going up 1% a year for the next 5 years, something like that. That's just guaranteed. It costs you more to own your home now. I know in my home that I own, it's last month or in September, the fridge broke, the washing machine, the dishwasher broke, and we had a mouse in the basement. And it's that was just a cool $10,000 that we had to do just for the pleasure of owning our home. This is getting dumb. It's the pieces that go into the home are not being are built worse. It costs money to maintain it. And so, specifically on the home example, I don't know if even home ownership is something that we want to strive for.
I'm trying to think what I would do, and I was talking to my wife last night about this because I knew that we were going to be talking about this, and I think I think what we'll try to do is not tell our kids, right? Oh, they might be watching this. They probably won't watch this, but we won't tell our kids that we might help them for their first home, and help with them with that down payment. I just know that just being an Indian father, that Indian wedding that I'm going to be paid for 3 times, that is going to be our biggest expense. So I'm going to be working for the rest of my life to pay for my kids' wedding. That's for sure. Have you ever seen an Indian wedding?
Dude, yeah,
an Indian wedding. Holy crap, man.
It's no joke.
Dude, I think I spent, and my parents helped me for this, about $50,000, but now. Dude. Oh my God!
6 figures,
$50,000 is like what you drop for the videographer. It's crazy now. So
yeah, man.
Anyways, it's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, but I think overarchingly, we don't want to give our kids the outcome of our success. We want to help them build their own success.
100%.
And if that means helping them, like, you better believe that I had a head start, right? I had seed capital to build all of my businesses because of the generosity of generation before me.
Yep.
But it was all in the form of loans that had to get paid back in one way or another. And I'm more grateful because of it.
I'm into that. Yeah. I like that. And I love that idea of the business. I think that's a dangerous idea. Neve, what do you got? Second topic.
Yeah, moving on to the election. One of the 4 accounts on Polymarket that have fueled speculation over their large bets on a Trump election victory have taken even bigger wagers, increasing the collective potential payout if Trump wins from $30 million on Friday to nearly $43 million on Monday morning. Right now, Donald Trump is up 61% and Kamala is at 39, but in the popular vote, Kamala is at 62 and Trump's at 30.
And that's still, and those stats are still on Polymarket.
What's the popular vote? Is that like polls?
That's like,
legacy polls? Like
No. That's like in the election they have a popular vote, which means nothing. It's just like how many votes does the candidate get? It doesn't mean it. You have to win.
The popular vote, like on Polymarket, like
no, popular vote in the actual U.S. election. They just calculate the popular vote, and then usually, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the person that is going to win the election because it's based on the electoral college, right? Yeah. So the popular vote is not important. It's just like a fun thing that they usually showcase. And by the way, for those that don't know, Polymarket is a crypto-based betting market where many people are using it today to predict like world events. You predict on games, on politics,
like weather,
on weather. Like you can do all sorts of stuff, and it's a really fascinating concept. It's actually putting skin in the game when it comes to polls, and so one would think that it might be a better predictor of what's going to happen because, you're putting your own money down for it. Now, there has been some speculation that there's been some dumping going on in Polymarket, that there's been some big overseas accounts that are coming in and really placing big bets on Trump. I'm not sure, like, what that would do from a general voting perspective, but like, what's your thoughts on this Polymarket? How crazy is it? Obviously with the election, it's like Polymarket is going to be at the peak of its like power, right? Everybody's really looking at it.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious. So from my understanding of Polymarket, it's decentralized. There's no throat to choke. It's pretty much anonymous, and like it's obviously very illegal, which in my opinion, the illegal markets are the best teller on the culture and where it's going. I think the fact that there's outside, like it's not just the US who's betting, it's the whole world, probably gives a better indication as to where the entire world thinks the election's going. But I do have a theory that people are more willing to vote the way that their gut is telling them to vote. In other words, Trump's a very controversial figure, and I think people are probably not inclined to vote for him if they don't think others are going to vote for him. But I think they probably do vote for him if they think that others are. I think as a society, we've kind of lost the ability to be a first principles thinker without influence from our peers. And I think that
We've always been like that. I think that's a natural.
Yeah, I think it's a natural
human-
thing, but I think that we get more external influence than ever before. And I think that we had smaller influences prior, like without the internet, without social media, we had these smaller influential people in our life. And I don't know that we had big media kind of telling us what to think in the way that we do today.
Right, no, 100%.
And so I think that poly markets are a bit more private. If you get asked a question on a poll that's got your name tied to it, or it's usually got some identifying characteristic tied to it, you're probably going to vote the popular way, the way that you think society expects you to vote. Like you walk down this campus, you ask people about Trump versus Kamala, you're going to have a completely different perspective than like you go to the Bitcoin conference in Nashville that just happened in July. It's going to be a completely different answer. And that's because both sides are being fed a narrative from their echo chambers.
But also if you ask somebody, if you walk around, if you ask somebody on a camera, who are they going to vote for?
Oh, totally.
That also skews it, right?
Now your job's at risk.
What people say in public, and that's why polling is always wrong, right?
Yeah.
Because what people say in public versus what people actually do in private is completely different. And that's why you saw
now tying your money to it.
Yeah.
It adds that extra layer of truthfulness, I feel
exactly.
like. Yeah, 100%.
I don't know what the stats are around, and maybe can you look this up? Like, what is the poly market? Like, how right are they? Do you know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah.
Because based on other like predictions that they've made.
Well, Polymark is not new. I remember there was a website called BitBets or something like that. This is in, I want to say 2013 or 2014. Like right when I was first getting into Bitcoin, there was these anonymous decentralized betting platforms on current events. And they did the 2016 and 2020 election polling results as well. And I feel like they were correct, if I recall.
Okay, so the number one question is like, who do you got in this? Who do you think is going to win?
I think,
not who you're going to back, but who do you think is going to win the election?
I'm going to back anyone because I don't believe, I think all politicians are just phony and garbage. But
I agree.
I'm pretty sure Trump's going to pull it out. I think that I'm feeling anyways a culture shift away from just, I'm feeling a culture shift away from the narrative that Trump is some Nazi fascist.
Yeah.
I feel like he's pulled right back into center, and we have a lot more social media influencers, I think, willing to either straight up say I'm going to support or I'm going to vote, or just say, hey, Kamala's actually probably not that good. And I think that Kamala's probably not that good is like a big swing on that pendulum that's been swinging pretty far left for the last 4 to 8 years.
It's interesting. I can never tell how much social media, Reddit, X really influences the elections, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of narratives, there's a lot of people online, but at the end of the day, the people that actually vote are the people that are over like 60, right?
Totally.
And a lot of those people may not be as online as everybody else is.
Yeah.
And so I'm always cautious to see what the zeitgeist is. The internet zeitgeist is not who votes.
Yeah.
Right.
Same with polybets. Like the people betting on polybet probably aren't also the voters either.
Exactly. So it's always interesting to me because when Trump won the first time around, like obviously no one expected it, and the zeitgeist was not in Trump's favor. Actually, the zeitgeist was against him, right? Yeah. And everybody was shocked when he won, because that's not what everybody was talking about. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in this. I do believe that I think Trump is going to win this. I think Polymarket actually is a good indicator.
Yeah.
Like on Polymarket, Kamala destroys him in the popular vote, and I believe that to be the case. But the Electoral College is looking like Trump is going to win. And the fact that Trump was so down in the polls, like in the OG election that he won, and then he's actually close. Now, to me, it's like, I think it's going to be a wrap.
I think it showcases, too, just how abstract and kind of useless the polling system actually is. Like, you take a tiny sample size, what are they polling? 1,000 people or even 10,000 people is a horrible spot. If half those people come from a certain city, inside of a certain jurisdiction, inside of a certain college or a certain school, a certain faculty, like you just don't know all the ins and outs. If I go to a Bitcoin conference and ask people if Bitcoin's good, I'm going to get a pretty good
100%.
idea that it's good. And then if I go to a bank or a financial and an Econ 101 course in some college and ask them if Bitcoin's good, I'm going to have a completely different idea. And so I think polling is like a thing of the past. I think it's equivalent to legacy media. I think the real polling happens in micro betting in a decentralized and anonymous way where people are actually putting their money where their mouth is, so to speak. And then you better believe if you're betting on the polls, I'm going to go bet. I'm going to go vote. Like I'm going to be more involved in the election if I've got $1,000 to win.
The only problem is that Polymarkets is still not. It's not a mainstream. Like I would assume that 97% of the people that are betting on Polymarket are men.
Oh yeah, but and probably under 35.
Yeah, and who are they going to vote? I mean, they're definitely going to sway towards more Trump. But hey, Neve, are there any indications on if Polymarket is a good indicator of bets?
Yeah, so a lot of people are asking that right now, actually.
Okay.
There's no specific, answer, I guess, but Forbes did put out an article saying that although Polymarket is saying Trump has these numbers, in more popular polling-based prediction models like Silver Bulletin and 538, both Harris and Trump have about 50% respective odds. So it's only on Polymarket, and they're saying it's because money is on the line. It's not. And
that's true. You could bet one way and then vote a different way.
Yeah.
But it is like in more popular polling, like that just means legacy. Like that's what a social media influencer is. Like, if I were a CNN broadcaster, I would say, oh, in more popular ways to tell the news, this is what we're saying. This is the narrative. But if I'm a social media influencer, I'm like, this is the new way. This is what's up. And so I think it's kind of, again, we're in this time. The innovation time. We're in this period of the world where the power is shifting away from these big centralized groups towards more individual focused efforts through decentralization like Polymarket.
I think one of the interesting points, and we'll get on to the next topic, Neve, is that you mentioned at the beginning is that we are kind of, as individuals, we don't have our own sort of desires. We're looking at other people's desires. We're sort of trying to model what other people want. As somebody that does like a lot of speeches, I go around the world and do these speeches. What I find really interesting is that I might be doing really well on stage. Like I might be coming up with concepts that they resonate with, or it might be really funny. But if the mood in the audience is off, or if the energy is not there, then they may not resonate with it. But if the energy is there and like certain people are laughing and they're like nodding their heads, then other people will be like, yeah, they're nodding their heads. Totally. I can laugh too. I can nod my head too. And it's we're just copying each other.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's happening in almost everything that we do, and especially when it comes to voting, we're like, okay, what's the mood? Like,
let's figure out the vibe.
What's the vibe?
And I think that comes back to we need as individuals, but also as family units, to start setting like mission and core value type like filters. Like I've adopted a pretty rigorous filter process in my life where I know what I want, and I've kind of like the filter becomes, does this action or this thing bring me closer to what I want?
So you before you came here, you said something, or when you came here, you said something about I've like sectioned my life into two parts, which is like being incredibly convenient or something that's like meaningful. So what is that?
I'm hunting convenience on things that don't give me that end result. And I'm hunting, and that's because...
What do you mean?
So like...
What do you mean by that?
Like if I were to kind of bridge my life into two categories, there's things that I kind of want to do that are maybe like guilty pleasures or things that don't really matter in the long term. And then there's other categories of things that do. Like for example, what you eat very much affects how you will be in 10 years and certainly in 50 years. And so we've adopted this convenience culture around what we eat: fast food, garbage food, things that come in a box, things that are wrapped in plastic, covered in seed oils, like all these pretty negative things that maybe feel good short term, but don't do us any favors long term. And I've maybe adopted an approach that is, I'm okay with inconvenience on things that, like with my food, for example, I'm okay to have inconvenient processes to make my food because I am now adopting a more convenient approach to things that don't matter. I've got like this finite bucket of how much inconvenience can my body and my brain take. And before I was like, oh, I want to get this cool car, but it's like inconvenient and it's, I can't get a car seat in there, like, whatever it might be. But now I'm like, no, I'll drive the old truck so that I have the brain and mental capacity to use the like stainless steel pan and source some free range eggs and figure out how to cook a steak and clean the cast iron pan.
Because that's what's important.
That's what drives my ability to be successful when I'm 50, when I'm 75.
Yeah.
And also, like, my goodness, what are my kids learning from me? If I eat out 20 meals a week and don't know how to cook, and I'm choosing the most convenient thing that's worse for me down the road, what should I expect my kids to do? How can I have this idea that my kids will be successful, not in a monetary sense, just in the ability to think and their ability to do hard things for the benefit of society and for what's better. And so I've kind of adopted this, like, I'm okay. Like this shirt, for example, this shirt is less comfortable than a polyester shirt. This is a merino wool. It's like 5% itchier than polyester, a little bit less comfortable. Doesn't fit me quite as well as I'd like. But at the end of the day, none of those mattered. There's no microplastics in this, and I have to wash it way less. These merino wool products are insane. They're super, super cool. And so it's like, okay, I'm foregoing, a bit of an image thing and a little bit of comfort. And as a result, I'm wearing something that's healthier and requires less maintenance. And that's going to allow me more time and more mental capacity to be able to do more things in the future.
This is a man with 4 kids talking, because you're just trying to optimize. Yes. You're like in the pursuit of efficiency, the pursuit of optimization.
Totally.
But at the same time, it's like, okay, so you're going to Disney World next week. And it's like, we're going to have a great time. It's going to be meaningful. It's going to be great. We're going to slow things down. We're going to wait in line. I heard this really great story from Trevor Noah on somebody's podcast. I can't remember who it was. But he was talking about the idea that, I think it was on the Diary of the CEO. It's like they went to this amusement park, and the amusement park knew that they were coming. And they like shut down the whole amusement park for him. Right. And so his friends and them, they went on every ride, and they were like, they didn't need to wait, right? They just went on ride, this, and they got sick. They just didn't enjoy it, and then came home afterwards and were like, why didn't we enjoy that? Well, part of the reason why they didn't enjoy it is because Trevor says, we realized that actually part of the magic of going to an amusement park is actually waiting in line and talking to someone and hearing people roar and scream and seeing people just like enjoy themselves and getting that cotton candy, and that inefficiency actually is what gives so much joy.
Well, their pain pleasure balance was just out of whack. And you do not get pleasure without pain. It's just a balance. That's physics. That's just the laws of the universe. The laws of the world are, you don't get to enjoy something unless you've worked and endured something to get that. And when you do, this is back to the first conversation, back about the kids and their rich parents that I'll help them. When you get that kind of out of balance on your pain pleasure spectrum, then things, ultimately the pain comes in just later. It's like you can't escape the pain. The pain either comes before, so you earned the thing, or it comes after because you didn't earn the thing. But regardless, you're getting pain. It's like you don't get to escape pain.
Agreed.
And we're seeing that in the economy. The government print. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm rich. All my assets are going up in value. It's great. And then now we're like, no one can afford a home. Groceries are too expensive. Right. Oh my goodness, gas is $1.50 in Edmonton, and it's like $2.50 in Vancouver. It's like, what happened? Well, the pain came later, unfortunately, because nobody worked for the money that they got. And now we're seeing the effects of that because our pain-pleasure balance is just completely out of whack.
Yeah, I always say that delight is inefficient in the sense that if you want to enjoy something, unfortunately, it's not going to be done in the most efficient way. It's like if I want to, I want to have a successful career. If somebody just handed me the career, I'm not going to enjoy it.
Totally.
The most enjoyable part is actually going through the journey of getting there. And then you're like, I struggled for this, and now I'm like, this is incredible. So, Neve, what we got?
Yeah, so this next one is bringing it home here to Edmonton.
Okay.
Edmonton has been named one of Lonely Planet's top best in travel destinations
What?
for 2025. And it's actually the only Canadian city featured due to its recent efforts to revitalize its downtown with sleek skyscrapers and state-of-the-art sports and entertainment facilities.
Wait. Edmonton is top 10 in the world?
Yeah, it takes its place on the list behind Palma de Mallorca in Spain and Osaka, Japan.
Let's go. Let's go. Let me tell you this, okay? I love Edmonton. I love Edmonton. I know you were thinking about moving, but I love Edmonton because we have the best people. And you should, if you think it's cold, suck it up.
Yeah, totally
Suck
agree.
it up. You know, there's other places. You go to Florida, it's hit by hurricanes. You go to you go anywhere, it's too hot. This place is perfect. If you're cold, get a warmer jacket. It's incredible. We have an incredible summer. Great summers. Lots of festivals. Good food. Great people. Great people. I think Edmonton is totally underrated, and I want to live here for the rest of my life. But you wanted to move.
Well, yeah.
And now it's a top 10 in the world. What do you want?
I frankly don't really consider Lonely Planet as my how I gauge my living decisions. But I do respect that Edmonton's there. I've actually come through. This is a very intentional exercise for me on whether or not we're going to stay in Edmonton or leave. And there's kind of two thought processes. One is, I think actually Edmonton is a hidden gem. I think that our province of Alberta is ripe for riches and ripe for abundance and ripe for an overtaking to yield wealth and life like we've never seen in this country. And so I'm quite bullish on Alberta as a whole. Edmonton, as far as the city goes, the culture, as you mentioned, is dynamite. I think there's no better culture. And I think that's because we only have pure people here. No one's here because of something else, right? If you're in Toronto, it's because you got some cushy banker job that's paying you $1 million a year. If you're in Calgary, you got some cushy oil management job. The mountains are there. It's easy to get places in the world. But back to what we talked about, there's pain to live in Edmonton. Yep. And because of that pain, it brings grounded people, which helps the culture. And I think culture is the number one thing the world is craving right now. We have no culture anywhere. Everyone is trying to stay ahead, trying to maintain the societal pressures of their life. They're probably making more money than they ever thought they would, and simultaneously not able to afford anything because the world is so out of balance. I think that Edmonton is unique in a place where people lived within their means and have lived within their means. Yeah. Generally speaking.
Depending on what kind of, friend group you have or whatnot. But
even like,
I think generally people are a way more, there is less of a flex culture in Edmonton comparatively to other cities that I've been to, Toronto or New York, where it's like,
no one's upside down on a $20 million house in Edmonton.
Right.
Right? You go to Toronto, you go to Vancouver, you go to Miami, people are upside down to the tune of millions, maybe tens of millions of dollars in investments and assets that don't bring them any value. And I think that in Edmonton, maybe you're upside down on a boat for like, a couple $100,000. But you can overcome a couple $100,000 of a hole, right? No one's really, no one's irrecoverable in debt here, perceptually speaking, because we've got, like you said, there's no flex culture. Everyone's got their F-150 and they're side by side and we're in good shape. And so, I'm bullish on Edmonton as a culture. And so part of that decision-making process was like, where do we want to raise kids, first of all? But then also, I feel quite passionately about why the problems of the world and in our specific country are happening. And I feel like it's my duty to like bring a better culture that will continue to fix the problems for generations to come.
So are you going to live here?
Yeah. We're committing.
Because I think one of the previous conversations that you had, you were so anti-Trudeau that you were like, we need to leave this country because this country is falling apart.
And so my response to that now is, I need to stay to overcome the system because and the last time we spoke, it was like someone has to make the hard decision, right? Your grandfather made the hard decision to leave India so that you, as now a second gen, can
my father, but
or your father, right? And so you're first gen Canadian. Yeah. That's like you're doing pretty good, right? You're doing way better than had your father not made the hard decision, and so.
I'm paying hourly for this theater. It's not my theater. I just want to let you know.
I guess what I'm saying is, if I do the hard thing and leave, then that would be better for my kids. But if I do the hard thing and stay, it can benefit my kids, but also my country. Right. And I think that's where we want to get to is we want to do the hard thing and stay and like
Love that, man.
fix the problems.
And you know what? We need entrepreneurs like you in Edmonton to stay here and build here so that you can be a catalyst for others. I always say that, one of the greatest things that we can do for innovation in a particular region is to put up innovators like you who've gone into a category that, quite frankly, everyone nobody would go into because it's so anti-culture, so anti-mainstream, and we need to hold up innovators like yourself that are trying to, push the status quo and try to disrupt the status quo, and the fact that you're still here is actually great.
Oh, thanks, man.
So listen, Edmonton, I like that. Okay,
Top
what
10.
else? What else you got?
So this next one is a little bit in both your wheelhouses with AI and crypto. So in a wild and unfolding AI experiment, a cryptocurrency worth $700 million has emerged from a chaotic sequence of events involving AI. 3 months ago, billionaire Mark Andreessen gave $50,000 in Bitcoin to an AI agent called Truth Terminal to help it escape. Truth Terminal, an AI known for its meme-heavy tweets, has since spawned a cryptocurrency named GOAT, now valued at $150 million. This all started when two AIs, part of an experiment run by Andy A. Ray, created a meme called the Goatsy of
Maximus,
Genosis, a bizarre internet reference. The meme went viral as other AIs got involved, eventually leading to the creation of the GOAT meme coin. And now Truth Terminal holds $300,000 in this coin, with the potential to become the first AI millionaire as more people airdrop meme coins to it.
So I mean, this is a complicated story, but I mean, I think just to boil it down, basically this AI has now created this like meme coin revolution. It's at a $750 million market cap, and all started by Mark Andreessen, one of the founders of A16Z, the guy who created Netscape, put it in, and now this is crazy. So, okay, it's a complicated story, but this combination between AI and crypto and meme coins. By the way, what's your take on meme coins? Are you?
So personally, I think meme coins, if I were going to like it's gambling, 100% gambling. Personally, I think that you're better off to go to a casino to gamble because the winnings are just tax free. I think you probably have better odds at the casino, but that it's up to debate. I think meme coins are stemming from it's kind of unregulated, and I think that the AI is a great example of someone that doesn't care about the laws or the rules, because if the AI goes to jail, it doesn't care.
Right.
It's like it's not real human. So I think meme coins are a response to crappy money, which we obviously have. I think it's in the same category as gambling, and I think anyone who thinks
100%.
meme coins are anything other than gambling, I would really challenge them on their logic.
I agree too. I wouldn't advise anybody to get into any meme coins. And I also think the most interesting part of this story is that the AI is autonomously sort of getting into, basically was fed like this like early 2000 culture. And the interesting part for me was that the AI got so immersed in this culture that it started to create sort of its own memes.
Yeah.
And I think we are on this precipice where the AI can be, experts in a particular field, act autonomously, have its own reasoning, and we're entering into a crazy world,
dude.
Because of AI.
I think it's going to be an insane future where, because we've got now money or tokens, some kind of financial asset that can be flown around the world at the speed of light inside of a decentralized ledger that can be spun up from an AI. There is no human intervention in any of that.
Yeah.
You use robotic money to buy robotic assets on the internet. It's like we're going to see more and more of this. I think this is the start of something that's brand new and going to continue coming, but it's still gambling.
Yes, exactly. Good
and
advice.
you should think about what you want. It's like, I want to get rich. It's like, well, do the pain.
Yeah. Hey. Well, give me what time? What time is it? It's 9:50.
9:54.
Okay, you gotta leave at 10. Right?
I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah.
Okay, give me one more. Give me two more topics.
Cool. So this next one's about Starbucks.
Oh.
They're not making a comeback just yet. Less than 2 months after hiring former Chipotle CEO Brian Niccol to turn around the company, the coffee giant posted disappointing quarterly earnings. Same-store sales dropped 7% in Q3, and they outlined a strategy aimed at simplifying the menu, adjusting prices, and resolving store bottlenecks.
Yeah, I think any new CEO coming into a job, you got to give them time or her time. The results are not going to come right away because I think the customer has to sort of catch up. But the idea of simplifying the order, basically it's saying like, when you go to Starbucks and people are like, I need the double pump, venti latte, soy, 4 cups of it. Like, it's crazy. And I think he wants to simplify the order so that it doesn't put a bottleneck in terms of just the customer experience and people waiting too long. I think that was one of the things. And then the mobile order thing has always been an issue, right? Because there's a long lineup, but people can get their mobile orders and they can go and get that really quickly. I think they're trying to sort that out. But I think overall, I think you got to give them time. I actually think the idea of simplifying is great. Obviously, you saw, Steve Jobs when he came back to Apple, he reduced the product portfolio to just a couple different things. And of course, we know the story of what happened with Apple. And I think the same thing will be true for Starbucks. I love Starbucks. I go to Starbucks all the time, so I'm bullish.
Dude, I think that. Yeah, we've got this hilarious news and quarterly reporting cycle that is not conducive. Like, if there was no quarterly results for public companies, we would see a lot better companies because they would be actually able to think strategically long term. We've got misaligned incentives where we've got these CEOs now that are incentivized. By
the way, he's a CEO of a publicly traded company.
This is me.
So yeah, okay.
We've got these CEOs incentivized to just pump the stock on a quarterly basis, which generally doesn't mean long-term success. And I think that Starbucks will be better off in 10 years because of it. I heard he wants to make the brand more premium again. Less 2-for-1 things, less discounts, less quantity, more quality, which I think is something that the Starbucks of the first version of Starbucks was quality. It was obscene to spend $4 on a latte that took 3 minutes to make. That was dumb because I can I can get drip coffee in 30 seconds, right? And they were like, no, we're quality. And then they went to 2-for-1, give me all the frappuccinos, make my drinks full of sugar and make them $10 and give me half off. And I think that culture is just getting wiped away. And I'm super bullish on the future of a Starbucks CEO that doesn't necessarily care about quarterly results, but is focused on maybe like a decade results would be made. Imagine a world that we measured company success in decades.
Love that.
Like, could you imagine how much different our decision-making process would be, our filters would be? It'd be completely different.
Well, I think that's what CEOs should be thinking about. It's this long-term play and not just being beholden to what happens every single quarter. I think Bezos had this strategy, right? It's guys, we're going to, it actually incentivizes you to fail more, right? Incentivizes you to say, guess what? This quarter, we're going to take some L's. Yeah. But we're taking these L's in the short term in order to fuel our long-term success.
Totally.
And the more that leaders can think like that, but the market doesn't think like that, right?
No.
The market, people want to make their money now.
Yeah.
And there is a misalignment there.
Well, we see that it's throughout society. We see it in quarterly results. We see it in a 4-year election cycle. Like, think about 4 years, how short 4 years is. Like, you can't do anything meaningful in 4 years. It's
funny because yesterday I was doing a keynote in Toronto to a group of folks that are in the public sector.
Yesterday.
And
dude, you are all over. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Toronto, boom, back.
Toronto, back.
8 o'clock, here
back.
we are.
I was, you know what? Yeah, we got here at 3 a.m. So
savage, man. I love that.
Yeah, so one of the things I hate about government is that they're always like, there's a new election cycle coming in Ontario, so like we're like, okay, we got to be pencils down. In Vancouver, there was just an election. In the States, there's an election. And there's always this mindset in government that we have to be pencils down. And my belief is that you keep going. Yeah. You keep innovating. Because change is always going to happen. There's going to be new technology. There's going to be a new minister. There's going to be a new prime minister. There's going to be a new hurricane. There's going to be a new tornado. There's always something going to be happening. And I think that we need to play less of this finite game, saying, "Oh, there's an election cycle, 4 years. There's only so much that we can do," and we need to move to an infinite game.
Boom.
And I think we have to have way more of this mindset. And There's this dangerous idea that I've been thinking about for a long time, which is kind of related to this, is that I don't know when you think about this, but a lot of people use like sports analogies for business. So they'll say like, oh, like Mamba mentality, or they'll use some like look at Michael Jordan, look at LeBron and what they're doing to their bodies and their mentality when they get into the game. And I just don't think that using sports analogies and using Michael Jordan or LeBron as an example of what you do in business is good, because in sports, it's finite. It's finite in the sense that it's 3 periods, or it's 4 quarters, it's 60 minutes. There's a finality to it.
Yeah.
But in business, it's infinite. The game is infinite. The variables are infinite. And by the way, in business, your competitors can come from anywhere. And the lines between industries are blurring because of digital. Like LeBron is not going to be playing in the NHL, but in business, LeBron can play in the NHL. Like Google can come into your business. So all I'm saying is that sports is a finite game. Business is an infinite game. And in order to play an infinite game, you need to have a long-term perspective, and you need to be innovating every single day. And I just think that, yeah.
So I think that also sports has a known rule system, whereas business has an unknown rule system. And I think that when no one's changing the rules of offside in the middle of the game.
Exactly.
Right? So people are thinking about, how do I play within the rules the best? But the real businesses are thinking about, how do I change the rules? How do I manipulate the rules?
Hey, you had a really great tweet today. What did he say? This morning, pull it up. What
did Adam, red light. I tweet at red lights all the time.
What did Adam say today?
You said every requirement is the result of someone else's logic and interpretation of the rules. Question it and challenge against your own interpretation of the rules.
Adam is thinking, and he's like, at a red light, he's like, I gotta put this.
That was actually as I was walking in here, man. I parked the car, locked the car, and I was like, oh, rules. I hate rules, because I was like looking at the parking rules and like all the rest of it. I was like, this is dumb. Why are we paying for parking? And I was like, rules, dumb. And I just tweeted that. So yeah, but yeah, that's it, man. It's like we win when we interpret the rules, within the law and all the rest of it. But frankly, laws are being changed. Today, laws are being changed right now because of actions and decisions that somebody else made. I think that's one of Elon's most impactful mindsets that I've learned from him anyways, is question every requirement.
Yep.
And when you question a requirement against, does this make sense for me based on my experience? Like, we all want diversity. Everyone wants diversity, and diversity has become the sake of success, not necessarily why do we want diversity. We want diversity so that you can take your experience, I can take my experience, we can challenge the rule set to make better rules, whatever better might mean. And I think that that's the difference between business and sports, is we have infinite time in business within confines, with a changing rule set that we get to influence, which is remarkable. And so the successful leaders are the ones that are able to actually choose and decide which rules should be changed and which ones shouldn't be.
And there's some rules that are they're policy related or they're regulations, but some rules are just conventions. They're orthodoxies that we've just come up with our own head.
Have you heard the analogy of the ham? The ham at Christmas story? Okay, it's a phenomenal story. Only 30 seconds. It's like, so this guy marries this girl. They go to mom's house for dinner, or for Christmas dinner, and mom's cutting the ham in half, puts it in the pan. The guy's like, what's with this? What's the ham in half? And the daughter's like, his wife's like, I don't know, go ask mom. He goes to mom. He's like, yo, mother-in-law, what's the deal? Why is the ham in half before it goes in the pan? And she's like, I don't know, it's how grandma does it. Go ask grandma. Grandma's there, and she's like, why is that? She's like, oh, when I was a kid, my mom couldn't afford a big pan, so I just cut the ham in half and put it in so it would fit. And today, they got a big pan. They got a big enough pan. But for 3 generations, no one questioned, why do we cut the ham in half? And as a result, ham's still getting cut in half, and they got 2 dried ends instead of just 1. And it's
hilarious.
Like, question the requirements against, things change. And the rule that existed 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, it probably doesn't apply, or it applies differently if you take that first principles approach today. I think that we have to do that more as a society, and we have to teach our kids through that, is like, yo, whatever I tell my son, it pisses me off all the time because he's annoying. But it's like, when I give you a rule, just ask me why. So and if I can't explain to you why, it's like, that sucks as a dad. It's like a lot harder to explain things. But man, my kid is friggin' smart now. And he's growing up thinking about things like, hey, how can we do that? I'm like, honestly, I don't know why we do that. We should like nix this, and we do, and it's better.
I think that's the number one skill that kids should learn, which is, I don't want my kids learning how to memorize what happened in World War II.
Totally.
I want my kids to ask better questions. I want them to question the rules. And if the rules are in place for a particular reason, they should understand why those rules are in place. And
then
if
make
it
the rule
sounds
better.
dumb, maybe we make it better.
Yeah, totally.
And those could be rules, again, for policy regulation, but they could be conventions. It's like, yeah, why is this? I mean, I think going back to Starbucks, I think that's what they did. They broke convention. They're like, yeah, coffee is supposed to be cheap. It's supposed to taste like this. You're supposed to get it and go. And so Starbucks said, no, you can actually create something that's premium.
They changed the culture.
You can create something that is an experience. You can come and sit in your Wi-Fi and work here for as long as you want.
Or have a conversation. Like, people used to grab a cup to go and read the newspaper on the train, and that was it.
Yep.
Leave me in my bubble. I've got my coffee time, my whole time. Now it's like, let's go. I mean, we met this morning at a coffee shop. There's people there sitting down having conversation with a coffee there. It completely changed the culture because they thought differently, and that's what we got to do. Think differently.
This. Okay, last one. What time? We good for time, Adam? Okay, one last question. It's 10:05. Let's go.
So speaking of companies trying new things and innovating, Chick-fil-A is taking a step into the digital entertainment space by launching its own streaming platform. The new platform will feature family-friendly content, original series, and exclusive behind-the-scenes stories about the brand in an attempt to blend hospitality and community.
Okay, so Chick-fil-A coming into the streaming era.
It's Disney World, man.
Do you eat Chick-fil-A? Have you had Chick-fil-A before?
I don't think I ever have. I had Hanes, I think it was called, in Nashville. I had really good chicken there. I think it was called Hanes, but I'm not much of a...
It's funny, Neve and I, we were at Coca-Cola at New Orleans at one of their strategic summits. We were at lunch and they were talking about Chick-fil-A and their operational excellence. And I was mentioning to them that I was in the airport and I want to get this Chick-fil-A. And the lineup for Chick-fil-A was crazy. Like, people just love Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
And I don't understand the culture around it. Now, What's interesting about this idea that Chick-fil-A is starting a streaming network or something related to this, I love the experimentation, but I also sometimes believe that companies should also stick to what they are fundamentally good at, which is they're good at making incredible chicken. And I love the experiment. I love people trying new things, but I think in this case, it seems a little far off.
Yeah, it's. I think this is their attempt at being Disney World, which I think could pay off huge. I mean, that's what everyone told Walt in the 50s.
Yep.
You're a movie producer, not a theme park.
Yep.
Get real. I think ultimately this is in response to something that you've been saying for a decade, which is community and lifestyle. And I'm actively doing this right now in Bitcoin. Well, not with a streaming service, but we're turning it towards being more of a lifestyle brand through completely unadjacent products, because we're turning into a financial system that helps you use Bitcoin. That's not a lifestyle product. There's nothing to promote there. And you look at Logan Paul with Prime, he's always got something. There's a constant lifestyle piece around stuff that we consume, eat, and drink. And I think that it's probably their attempt at bringing in that culture and lifestyle to become, the Disneyland, the Disney World piece.
It's interesting. I think maybe I'm not as familiar with Chick-fil-A's brand because it's not as prevalent in Canada. Although we do have a new one. It's in West Edmonton Mall,
West
right?
End, yeah.
Oh, there's one here.
There's one in West End.
No
now.
wonder it's top 10 places to be in the world. We got Chick-fil-A.
I remember Seth Godin, great marketer, great philosopher, had this really great analogy about brand. He's like, if a random company like Duracell started a hotel brand, could you imagine what that sort of looked like? Or if RBC created, or TD Bank created their own hotel brand, would you know what that felt like? But if Nike had their own hotel brand, you could probably have a feeling of what that would look like.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's a great analogy, because what great brands do, it's not about what's on their website. It's not their motto. It's not their mission statement. It's a feeling at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling as to what the Nike hotel would feel like. It would feel inspiring. It would feel like somewhere where I would love to work out, or I would love to have a great wellness experience. Like you can feel it. And so I think when you go into a different category, which I still recommend, I think it's great to experiment. You have to have a brand that's so distinct that people know what that feeling might be. So if they have a new media service or media network, I want to know what that feels like.
How do you get there, do you think? Because I agree 100%. What has Nike done over the last 50, 60, 75 years that give you that Duracell didn't?
I think it's consistent storytelling. It's not even storytelling. I mean, Duracell could probably do a great storytelling, but it's consistent.
Well, but they haven't, and that's the difference. One did and one hasn't.
It's compounding over decades. It's the feeling that you get. It's the stories that you continually see through Nike, and that sticks to you.
So now, I mean, let's merge this Starbucks and Chick-fil-A example. Does Chick-fil-A have a CEO thinking about a 50-year timeline and wants to tell stories? Like, how do you tell a story? With a streaming service would be probably a pretty good start with like exclusive behind the scenes, blah, blah, blah. I think this could be, it's going to be an execution game. I think it's the right move, but 100% has to be executed properly. Do enough people, do they need a big streaming service, or can they just make some sick docs and put them on YouTube? Probably is the decision there. But at the end of the day, I think that they're trying to turn this into more of a lifestyle, and this is their attempt at the Disneyland culture. Because I think Disney and Nike are the GOATs. They've done a great job of this. And I think that, to your point, I think you need to tell more stories. You need to be an expert at finding that lifestyle perspective on your brand. And I don't know if they'll do it.
Love that.
But,
Well, Adam, listen. This was amazing. We love having you on Dangerous Ideas always. You're doing some incredible things with Bitcoin Well, and I just really appreciate you coming here, man.
Thank you, bro. It's great to be here. This place looks amazing.
Appreciate it.
And
Neve, thank you so much. We'll see you guys on the next one.